All right, welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a good break. It is time for part 2, the image of God. And this is the part where we're actually going to start talking about AI. You know, the Bible tells the story of an all-knowing, hyper-intelligent God who created the universe through the application of his intelligence. The story begins in Genesis 1:1, that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and he found it, the text says, formless and void. And the Spirit of the God was hovering over the face of the waters, and darkness was over the face of the deep. And God said, "Let there be," and there was light. And he separates the light from the darkness, which is a sorting and ordering problem. And he defines one as day and the other as night, and there's morning and evening on the first day, right? So that's the application of intelligence. And shortly thereafter, in that same initial chapter that defines who we are, what the world is, who God is, and so much more, God talks about his creation of us as his human image bearers, and this is what he says, very famous. And so God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them, male and female. And God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and rule over the fish of the sea and the birds of the sky, and over every creature that crawls on the earth." So what does it mean to be made in God's image and after his likeness? Well, it means many things, but among the things that it means is that he bestowed upon us a version, a picture, an image of his own intelligence and capabilities. And he gave to us the mandate to join him in what he was already doing. And so this is the order that God established in the first chapter of Genesis. He came to a place that was formless and empty, and he applied his intelligence, and he brought it to orderliness and fruitfulness, right? And then he tells them to fill the earth and subdue it. That word subdue in the Hebrew is a very strong word. It's almost conquer it. And he planted a garden in the east in Eden, and he put the man and the woman there, right? Now, what is a garden? Garden is what happens when you take wilderness and you put it under the command and control of intelligence. That's a garden. So it's plants like in the wilderness, but now they grow in rows. Why? Because intelligence has been applied. A human went out there and put them in rows. Or a God, in the case of Genesis chapter 2, right? He planted the garden. And so that garden becomes prototypical. He shows the man in the world, this is what the world looks like under the command and control of intelligence. Now go forth and subdue it. Take that wilderness and turn it into garden. And it's a big planet. You're going to need to be fruitful and multiply in order to accomplish this, right? There's space. So he gives us the mandate and the necessary equipment, and this becomes our definition of work. This is what human work is. This is what human work does. It takes wilderness, it takes things that are formless and empty and chaotic, and it applies our human intelligence that we possess because we are made in the image and likeness of God, and it allows us to participate in turning wilderness into garden. This is the thing that God originally created us to do. It is nothing less than the meaning of life. The meaning of life. So no matter what modern employment you might have, this ultimately is the process that we go through, okay? So let's just take one of my favorite examples is a restaurant. Every element of a restaurant, everybody who works in a restaurant is doing this in one level or another, okay? When you when you open the restaurant at the beginning of the day, it is empty and formless. The front end's empty and the back end is formless. All the vegetables are together, all the dairies together, all the pastas together, nothing is made. And then the restaurant needs to open, and then the customers come in, and the host and hostess use their human intelligence to order the parts of that particular domain to take it from emptiness to fruitfulness. and the waiters and waitresses take the orders and explain questions about the menu and help guide the customers to the thing that they actually want instead of the thing that had the best picture. And they do that with their human intelligence to produce better results. And in the back, the chefs are taking all of those ingredients and they are applying their God-given intelligence to recombine those things into all kinds of delicious meals. And so from top to bottom at a restaurant, the God-given mandate to fill and subdue the earth is being executed from open till close. A restaurant is a God-honoring and exalting thing because human beings are doing what they're supposed to do with their intelligence, okay? Now, if that's what intelligence is, what is AI? What is AI? Well, AI is the ability of machines or computer systems to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. This is the ability of computers to do things that normally require a human brain. The way that we create AI systems is that we write actually a very simple computer program, and we say, we teach it how to learn. And then we feed it a data set, a big set of information for it to learn from. And it's almost like we're taking our hand, our human fingerprint, and we're dipping it in ink, and we're putting it on the page. And we're dipping it in ink, and we're putting it on the page. And every new thing we feed this system makes a little bit better picture on the page. And the thing looks a little bit more human. It has a little bit better copy of our Imago Dei, our image of God. Because that ultimately is what this is. AI is the invention of our ability to create mimics, copies of parts of our Imago Dei onto computer systems and make something that is made in our image in the way that we are made in his image. Does that make sense? Okay. So this is how all AI systems work. One of the things, there's kind of three broad categories of AI, things that normally require humans to do, but now computers can do them. So one of them is generating content, making stuff. So normally, like organizing words into coherent sentences, that's something that only humans can do. I love my dog, but he can't talk, right? But now computers can do that. Has anyone not used ChatGPT? Okay, 12 people in the room have not used one of these systems. It feels like you're talking to a human, a very smart human at that, right? A knowledgeable friend. Because it was made from copying our Imago Dei. We took the contents of the entire internet and everything humans had ever written, and we fed it into this thing and we taught it how to talk, right? It's a copy of us. So how about these? Have you guys used image generation tools? These are some things from DALL-E and Midjourney. That woman right there does not exist. Never did. Was never born. That is not a photograph. Neither is that. Okay? Both of these were images that were generated by AI by feeding it billions of photographs. We showed it picture after picture after picture, and it learned when light and dark are next to each other, and when bright and subtle are next to each other, and what all these different things look like, and it tagged all that data from Flickr and all these different websites that we made. And it learned what pictures are. And so I type in young woman on a frozen lake, shallow depth of field, 4K, high resolution. And it makes that, because those are the kinds of tags that were on pictures that looked like this when the data was trained. Does that make sense? That's how this works. That's why AI makes stupid mistakes like having pipes growing out of people's heads and stuff, is because it's not thinking. It doesn't understand what it's drawing. It's making the average of every picture of a young woman on a frozen lake that human beings took, because it's made from copying our image of God. Second one is recognizing patterns in data, okay? So this is something that humans are good at. We can recognize our friends, for example. When I see somebody and they're my friend, I know that immediately. No one has to tell me because I recognize their face. Well, now a computer can do that. I had this experience on my recent trip to Atlanta for the first time. I went to the TSA agent, and the TSA agent was not a TSA agent, it was a robot. And they said, hold your ID up to the camera and put your face in the other thing, and the robot will look at your face and decide whether you are you. Now that used to require a person. It used to require that guy. There he is, he's doing it, right? Human intelligence to tell whether the picture on the thing is the guy standing in front of him. And now we have copied that part of our Imago Dei onto a computer. Here's another one. We have fed these things millions and millions of images of benign and malignant tumors. And then we took doctors and we said, tell the computer whether that one actually was benign or malignant. And now the computer has gotten incredibly good at determining whether it's going to be benign or malignant in the future. Neat, right? Neat. Because we copied that part of the Imago Dei of a very intelligent radiologist onto a computer. So these are kind of my three broad categories: creating content, recognizing patterns in data, and making decisions and predictions. Oh, I forgot making decisions and predictions. I'm sorry, guys. Making decisions and predictions. We're all familiar with this one from Netflix, okay? Because you watched this, I suggest that you watch any of these. That is an AI. That's an AI that you're interfacing with all the time. That it's thinking about you. Now, we could do this with just static recommendations. These ones are like these ones. But Netflix's AI is much smarter than that. It learns you. It learns whether or not you like Kevin Spacey. And it's more likely to suggest Kevin Spacey movies to you that are kind of connected to a movie, because it's not just because someone watched Orange is the New Black, it's because you watched it. Right? Now, normally that would require a friend who knows you sitting there and talking about it, but now it can be done through AI. So recruiting, this is a great graphic. The AI is absolutely taking over the world of recruiting because it saves so much money. Oh my gosh, going through resumes and doing interviews. What if you could have a Netflix recommendation for employees? Because you liked Tina at the front desk, you might like Charlotte. And that's what this is. You think hiring managers like that? They do. So Mark Andreessen, he's a venture capitalist. If you know anything about Silicon Valley, he's the co-founder of Andreessen Horowitz, which is just about the biggest name in venture capital in Silicon Valley. They've invested in everything you use, from Uber and DoorDash to Facebook and Zynga. What was that? It was the Farmville. You remember that? Farmville? Okay, it's fine. Point is, Mark Andreessen is deeply connected in the world of technology, and he wrote an article recently called "Why AI Will Save the World." And he talked about all the amazing things that we're going to have in our future from AI and why we're being alarmist. And I just want to read to you from his predictions of our incredible future. And I want you to listen for the device paradigm in what he's saying, okay? Here's Mark Andreessen. In our new era of AI, every child will have an AI tutor that is infinitely patient, infinitely compassionate, infinitely knowledgeable, and infinitely helpful. The AI tutor will be by each child's side every step of their development, helping them maximize their potential with the machine version of infinite love. Yeah, you like that one? I liked it too. Every person will have an AI assistant, coach, mentor, trainer, advisor, therapist that is infinitely patient, infinitely compassionate, infinitely knowledgeable, and infinitely helpful. The AI assistant will be present through all of life's opportunities and challenges, maximizing every person's outcomes. Every leader of people, CEO, government official, nonprofit president, athletic coach, teacher, I'll throw pastor in there, Tony edit, will have the same. The magnification effects of better decisions by leaders across the people they lead are enormous. So this intelligence augmentation may be the most important of all. The creative arts will enter a golden age as AI-augmented artists, musicians, writers, and filmmakers gain the ability to realize their visions far faster and at a greater scale than ever before. In short, anything that people do with their natural intelligence, with their Imago Dei, I added that, today can be done much better with AI, and we will be able to take on new challenges that have been impossible to tackle without AI, from curing all diseases to achieving interstellar travel. And this isn't just about intelligence. Perhaps the most underestimated quality of AI is how humanizing it can be. AI art gives people who otherwise lack technical skills the freedom to create and share their artistic ideas. Talking to an empathetic AI friend really does improve their ability to handle adversity. Andreessen assumes the device paradigm with every single one of his statements. Every child's going to have an AI tutor that's 100 times the teacher any teacher today is going to be. That comes from a way of thinking that says teachers are devices that produce a commodity called education. And if we can produce that commodity at a lower cost or a higher quality with less effort, we ought to do so. Now I want to introduce you to somebody. This is Mr. Lee, okay? Mr. Lee was my 5th grade teacher at Rogers Park Elementary School, okay? Mr. Lee fought in the Vietnam War. He was in the Marine Corps. He got drafted, and he went over and served there. And then he got out and he used his GI Bill to go to college, and he became a school teacher. And he was my 5th grade teacher. There's Mr. Lee. Now, Mr. Lee did provide the commodity of education. He taught me about the Civil War and pre-algebra, and that the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, which was his job. But he also came out on the playground with us, and he taught us how to play Foursquare with the real rules, not all the playground around the world, upside down, da 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 da. It just became known as Lee's Rules. You just go, Lee's Rules, service, boom. And he gave me a picture of what it was to be a good man, to love your country, to take responsibility for yourself. I wanted to be just like him. And I'm not going to want to be just like my AI tutor because it didn't fight in the Vietnam War. And there's more to being a teacher than transferring the commodity of education. These are some of my best friends. Unlike my future AI friend, they are not infinitely patient, infinitely empathetic, infinitely mature, and neither am I. And they also push back against me when I'm wrong, and sometimes when I'm right. They open me up to whole new worlds of experience and things that I didn't know I liked, things that I didn't think I liked until they forced me to try them because I was getting left out of the group. They caused me to grow. That guy's the reason I'm a computer programmer. I call him my brother because I don't have one biologically. He is my pastor and my mentor. And she's the love of my life. But none of them are going to be infinitely patient and infinitely kind and infinitely serving like my future AI companion will be. Did you hear about the revolution that's going to happen in the creative arts? Everybody can paint now with AI. There's no need to learn how to paint, okay? Do you know what's behind me? Anybody know what this is? That's Juilliard. That's right. It's one of the greatest art schools in the world. This is a place where people learn to be artists. That is, yes, one of the commodities that it creates. And it's also one of its tuition free. If you can get in, you can go there for free. And it brings together year after year some of the most talented and gifted minds of a generation created in the image of God, and magic happens. And that's just not the same thing that's going to be on offer as we move into our AI art-generated revolution, right? Because there is something that happens in the character and nature of the person when they go to art school. The point isn't just to create art, it's to create artists. Okay. So I've come up with a metaphor. This is my metaphor from the Bible that I think perfectly illustrates the offer that we are being given with some of these AI tools, okay? And the story that I chose to use is Jacob and Esau. You guys know this story? Jacob and Esau were twin brothers. Esau, the guy over here, is the older brother by a few minutes, and so he gets most of everything. And Jacob doesn't get much, but he's smart. He's manly, he's smart. So Esau comes in from the field one day, and he's at an unsuccessful hunt, and he's really hungry. And Jacob is cooking this stew, and here's what happens. It says, once when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esau came in from the field exhausted, and he said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of that red stuff because I am exhausted." And that is why he is also named Edom, which means red in Hebrew. And Jacob replied, "First sell me your birthright as firstborn son." "Look," said Esau, "I am about to die, so what good is a birthright to me?" And Jacob said, "Swear to me first." And so he swore to Jacob and sold his birthright to him. And then Jacob gave bread and lentil stew to Esau, and he ate and drank and got up and went away. And so Esau despised his birthright. So here's my contention. ChatGPT is Jacob by the fire. You need to write a term paper. It's due tomorrow. You need it right now. And you come in famished from the field, and there sits Jacob, ready to give you a pre-made term paper right now. Right now. And all he asks you for is your birthright as a human being, which is ultimately your ability to produce many future bowls of stew, your land and your sheep, your birthright. I was in Black Cup just a couple of weeks ago, and we saw this young woman, clearly a student, and this is what she had done. She had it write her a term paper, and then she's copying it down in pencil onto a piece of paper so it doesn't look like it's written by AI. That's probably of some benefit. But here's the thing, here's the little secret. Nobody ever cared what 11th graders think about the rise of communism. That wasn't the point. The point was to teach them how to think critically and write term papers, right? And because we apply the device paradigm and ChatGPT sits as Jacob by the fire, he says, "I'll give it to you ready-made right now today, just sell me your birthright. Just sell me your birthright." So, last thing before the break, and then we'll finish it up. It is your birthright to be taught how to live as a human being by the previous generation of human beings who have gone before you. That is your birthright as a human person. It was given to you by God. You were born with it. It is your birthright to form authentic human relationships with other people. And sometimes they will be messy and complicated and inconvenient. And it is a gift given to you by God for your development and your growth, your joy and his glory. And it is your birthright to be able to develop skills within yourself through practice and rigor, and thereby unlock the unbelievable potential that God gave you with, birthed you with, okay? So let us not be like Jacob, or like Esau, who despised his birthright. All right, that's the end of part 2. We're going to take a short break, I'm going to do 3 minutes this time, 3 minutes, and then we got to get back to it. Short break. Here are 2 questions if you want to do discussion. Who have been influential people in your life, and what skills have you learned? What skills have you learned, and what else did you gain in the process of learning skills? So those are a couple of questions. 3 minute break. Use the bathroom if you need to, and then we'll finish this thing up.